Hello everyone, this is the CRT Productions, and if you've been watching this channel for any amount of time, you're probably familiar with my HP Compact 8710W mobile workstation from 2007, which I've featured in many videos now. I'm very fond of the laptop, one of my favorites of all time. You may even be familiar with its predecessor, the NW9440, also from HP Compact, also a mobile workstation from the year before, 2006, but what about the successor of the 8710W? What laptop could possibly claim the title of successor to the best laptop known to man, the 8710W? Well, I'm going to show you that laptop today in this video. I have made a video on it previously, installing Windows 7 in 2024, but the laptop itself didn't get much airtime, really. It was mostly about Windows 7, of course. So today we're going to be dedicating an entire video to the HP 8730W Elitebook. That's right, friends. Ooh, it's a lot lighter weight, I must say. In lieu of an 8720W, there was no reasonable follow-up to the 8710W. They had to start an entire new line of laptops called the HP Elitebook, with a new, refreshed, sleek silver design, brushed aluminum design, if you will. And as I turn this one off because the battery is dead, well, despite it being the launch of the Elitebook branding from HP, this was still presented as a mobile workstation. In some of their original marketing materials here, the HP Elitebook 8730W mobile workstation was its full government name, its full title there. Powered to perform, most powerful HP mobile workstation. This was indeed the flagship of the line, announced August 11th, 2008. We'll look through the marketing materials here, find out a little more about it. This was originally, when it was first launched, Windows 7 wasn't quite out yet, but mine is a slightly later model with a Windows 7 Pro certificate of authenticity on the bottom of it, and I have Windows 7 installed on it, of course. They were offered with a plethora of specifications, including Intel quad-core, Intel Extreme processors, up to 8 gigabytes of DDR2 memory. These were offered with up to 320 gigabytes, 7200 RPM SATA hard drive, and a WSXGA Plus display, which is 1680 by 1050. That was the standard display. It's featured in my laptop as well as the A710W, but this one was also offered with a WUXGA display, 1920 by 1200, or a WUXGA RGB LED WVA 1920 by 1200 LED panel with Dream Color. So that's another one of those for you fans of long titles of things out there. But then there comes the drive bay, the upgrade bay, actually is what it's called, but it can also be used as a hard drive bay as well. This was offered with either a Blu-ray R/RE DVD Plus/-RW Super Multi with double layer, or a DVD Plus/-RW Super Multi dual layer LightScribe drive, or a DVD ROM drive. Now, take your pick. Personally, I have not really checked to see what I have. Let's see what we have. Looks like we have the DVD Plus/-RW Ultra Speed Multi Recorder with dual layer RW. So we have kind of like the mid-range option. So as each of them power up here side by side, we'll compare some differences between them. So you can see there, obviously, with the 8730W, it's got the more silvery modern design, and Windows 7 and everything. And then this one's got that classic mid-2000s compact industrial design. Obama, George Bush. It's a famous photo of some American political figures on around a table using some of these laptops, some of the smaller versions of this laptop, the 8510P, I believe it is. On the front of the 8730W, we've got a speaker grill, headphone and microphone jacks, the multi-card reader, the unlatching button, as opposed to the slider that's on this one, which is on the lid on the 8710W there. You have to slide that sideways and then pull up. With this one, you just pop it open, and another big speaker there. On the front of the 8710W, you just have the card reader and speakers. So they moved the headphone and audio jacks to the front on the newer model, which I kind of like. On this one, I believe they're on the right side. So there were a few changes as far as the touch bar is concerned. On the older one, the buttons actually didn't change, not even the layout of them. They're all in the same order. Calculator, volume, mute, lighty-uppy things that aren't touch sensitive, and a few random buttons there. It's all the same on this newer model here. The difference is when you adjust the volume or press a button on this one, there's no indication on screen that it's happened. Again, a bit of a wide shot. You can see there I'm touching the volume and nothing's showing on screen. With this one, we got a nice little driver-based thingy there. I'm not sure exactly the name of the driver, but they always have fancy drivers, like HP Visible Audio or something, I don't know. It's something, but yeah, when you mute, it doesn't say anything when you mute, interestingly. But you have your volume thing there, of course. You can see that you've muted your volume. Open the calculator, 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 calculator. Very different calculators there. And the touch volume control is still just as nice to use on this one as it was on the old one. You see there, you can turn your volume up and down very quickly. If you're too rough with it and jam your finger on it, it can do some weird stuff. You have to be kind of gentle. It's pretty sensitive. Just lightly touch it, and you can see there you can hold it and it will continue adjusting the volume. Same with this one. We can touch it here, and there it goes. So pretty much exactly the same. I think the newer one might be a little bit more sensitive. I think this one's just right on the 8710W as far as the sensitivity is concerned, but they're both very nice. As far as the presentation button is concerned, I just pressed the presentation button, and you can see there exactly the same thing on this one. And if we tap the info center button, of course, if you remember my 8710W video, it's exactly the same thing. It'll take a moment to load on this one though, because it's got a hard drive. I think I've got one extra thing on there. No, this one has system info. I think system information is a separate driver completely for some reason. There's a million different drivers for these computers, and I didn't install all of them on this one. Not all the little specific application things that you can install, but I got the required things that you need to use the computer. Now when we look over here on the right side of them with the newer model on top, the older 8710W on the bottom, we can see the major differences with these two laptops. Same disk drive there, same situation with Ethernet and dial-up modems, but they're swapped for some reason. I don't really know why, but they are. The order of them is swapped. It'd be very confusing if you upgraded to the newer model and you use one of those two ports regularly. But we can see here, it's got 3 USB ports on the newer model and eSATA. Ooh, eSATA. We love eSATA on this channel. I've never actually plugged anything up to an eSATA port, had any reason to, but we love eSATA for the era that it denotes when a device has that port. It is from the time period that I like. But anyway, on the older 8710W, we can see the aforementioned audio jacks and 4 USB 2 ports. The newer model only has 3 USB ports on the right side. And over on the left side, nothing really changed. They almost look identical on this side, except for the omission of another USB port. There's only one USB port on the left side of the 8730W, while the 8710 had 2 more. for a total of 6 USB ports, only 4 on the newer model. 6 USB ports, pretty unusual to use. It does all at the same time, but it is cool to be able to say I've got 6 USB-A ports on my laptop. Can't say that about any new models nowadays. So, as I always like to do, as per tradition on the channel, I like to open a bunch of random apps at the same time. So let's see what we can open here. How about Firefox and VLC and Magnum and Microsoft? How about Microsoft and Vivaldi, Paint, WordPad, Notepad, that. Internet Explorer, come on. Open Internet Explorer, yeah! 8 gigs of RAM, look at that. Oh, I think Vivaldi was probably the slowest there. It popped up after everything else. Thought Internet Explorer crashed for a second, but yeah, there you go. We got everything open. Still running pretty nicely. We can see there. Got the arrow theme on there. I probably don't want to look through my files on there because I probably have some funny stuff. Got the media player and everything. Go ahead and have the game opening there. So as you could tell, this thing handles multitasking just fine with its 8 gigabytes of RAM. It's Intel dual core, Intel Core 2 Duo CPU T9600. This thing could probably run Windows 11 just fine. I haven't installed 11 on this particular system. As I mentioned before, I did install Windows 11 on this thing's grandfather, the generation of laptops before this laptop's predecessor. So, you know, and it worked well enough on that laptop. The only thing about this laptop is, of course, its video graphics performance. You're not going to be getting a whole lot out of those, even the old Quadro cards, especially not the ATI card, as you see mine has right there. Yeah, the Quadro cards would handle stuff like probably some light video editing and stuff like that pretty well, but obviously no gaming is going to happen on this laptop unless you want to play a very special game. The overall look and feel of this laptop is pretty nice. It has a nice modern design, you know, as far as the appearance of the brushed aluminum, very modern, very mid-2010s, despite this thing being from 2008. You know, the keyboard is pretty nice. I demonstrated that before, but yeah, I really like the keyboard on this laptop. The trackpad is decent enough. It's kind of small, but that kind of comes with the territory of using a laptop that is 16 years old now. The track point is not great. This is not going to be a track point fan's laptop right here. You're not going to like that track point very well if you're used to ones on ThinkPads, etc. But, you know, trackpad works well enough. This thing has Bluetooth, so you can actually use a Bluetooth mouse. I have used a Bluetooth mouse with this laptop briefly. And yeah, plenty of USB ports if you don't have a Bluetooth mouse. Got a regular dongle mouse. But overall, you know, the build quality is what you'd expect from one of these laptops. I mean, you know, pretty decent. The lid is pretty thick as far as lids go. It's got that kind of boxy square, you know, industrial business notebooks design. It's got pretty nice solid hinges. They're metal, you know, so you're not going to break that portion of it. As far as I remember, I believe this actually is brushed aluminum, not just like a plastic faux brushed aluminum finish. I think it actually is aluminum, so that's pretty nice. Yeah, it feels like a premium product, which is not always the case with more modern, expensive electronics. You actually got a quality product back in these days. I always forget to mention battery life when I do a review of a laptop. And that's because I usually review ancient laptops like this one, which either don't have any batteries available online for them, or it's just so old, like why would you care? You're probably just going to buy an old, for example, Dell XPS M1730. Probably just going to buy that as a novelty item. But this laptop's a little bit different. You can still buy batteries for these things pretty cheap. I think you can get them for like 15 bucks. And it lasts decently. You can see there, I'm at 38%, still estimating I've got about an hour left. That's accurate. It's not one of those situations, at least with the one that I bought in particular. I did buy a new battery for this thing, and the one I got was a good one. It wasn't one that had been sitting in a warehouse for 10 years. When it gets to 40%, it dies instantly. I would guesstimate it probably last about 2.5 to 3 hours on average, which is not bad for a laptop like this one, which was high-end at its time. I mean, let's face it, HP was trying to improve on one of the greatest laptop designs of all time, used by Barack H. Obama and Joseph Robinette Biden themselves. So, you know, what do you really do in that situation? You update the appearance of it slightly, give it a nice modern brushed aluminum design. You change up the touch bar a little bit, make it a little more sleek looking. You give it a slightly updated keyboard layout. What more can you really do? I mean, you know, they did their best. They gave us some updated hardware, of course. They changed the layout a little bit, made it a little slight bit slimmer than the older model, but you know, a little bit lighter weight overall. But overall, this is pretty much the same laptop as the 8710W, and frankly, if given the choice between these two, I'm probably taking the 8710W. But the 30W's first Elitebook, you gotta give HP some credit for trying. But to the HP Elitebook 8730W mobile workstation, I say, you tried, my friend. You tried. I still prefer the 8710W. But anyway, that's it. That's all I have to say, really. If you enjoyed this, leave a like. Join the Discord if you want to. That's still out there somewhere in the description, maybe. Let me know which one of these laptops you prefer if you have one. There's several people in the Discord I know who owns these laptops, not these, but those, and the others in the line of the older mobile workstations. And yeah, stay safe out there and all that.